Hey guys, I'm very excited today to show you my latest rogue build. I'm very happy with it, and I call this build the new Barber Rogue. So Barber Rogue is back in Season 2, it seems. This could really define the rogue meta because it's a very powerful and fun build. So I have tried many different tier 100 nightmare dungeons, and it just worked amazingly for me. So this build is capable of basically everything. We are very tanky. I'm consistently reaching about 19k armor, so this is much more armor than you need right now, and also I think more armor than you will need in the later released event Abattoir of Zir, which will be coming in early December. So this build I will try for sure first for this new endgame event. And so yeah, I'm very tanky. I basically never die except I do some stupid mistakes. Then I'm dealing a lot of damage. You can see the whole screen just explodes when I shoot my penetrating shot arrow. So typically I need about 1 or 2 shots for an entire elite pack, like you can see now. So everything just explodes. So that's why I call it Barber Rogue. I have a big amount of AoE damage and kill everything. And also I have a lot of movement. So with this rogue I'm using dash, shadow step, and the new vampiric power metamorphosis, so I can just zoom through the entire map like no other class. So we are much faster, we are dealing a lot of damage, and we basically never die. So yeah, this is the new rogue meta, maybe. I'm very excited to share with you this build. So first of all, I need to mention I got heavily inspired by Vujio. So Vujio has released a video recently, so you can let me stop it for a minute. So Vujio has released a video recently. You can see it here. 1000 lucky hit is pretty good. So Vujio in this video describes how he abuses the T-Bolt's will bug. So there is a bug on the pants T-Bolt's will. So if you combine it with condemnation, the unique dagger, you are able to very quickly get up to 20 or 21, 22 combo points, okay? So this is the current bug. If you didn't know, Rogue has about 20 combo points more than usual because of this bugged pants. And not only you can increase your damage this way, but also Vujio was the first to experiment with further interactions with skills like penetrating shot. So with penetrating shot, maybe I can go to the new training room in Kiowa Shot and show you. So penetrating shot benefits from this bug from T-Bolt's will in a way where we just increase our lucky hit chance up to 1000%. So there's another bug, it seems, in the paragon board. So there is a legendary node in the cunning strategy paragon board in rogue class, and if you use this paragon node, my PC is lagging a bit, so here I can show you if you're using where is it here? If you're using cunning strategy, this legendary node, you will also increase your non-damage non-damage bonuses from combo points. Holy shit, my system is lagging quite a bit, quite much, but anyways. So the question is, what do we do with this lucky hit, with this big amount of lucky hit chance? So I can quickly show you here on the dummy. We just need to cast puncture a bit. Then we have 22 combo points, and here you can see I have 858% lucky hit chance. And so yeah, this basically means everything that will everything we hit with our penetrating shot will proc all the lucky hit effects that we have. So Vujio had the idea of combining this with the X-File ring. So there's a new unique ring which you can use to proc some poison explosions on the rogue class. Okay, I can't find the ring now, but anyways, so he's using this technique to just proc consistently poison explosions, and this way he's dealing also AoE damage to his enemies. But I went for a different direction. So My first idea was combining this with Wind Force, but actually I have dropped Wind Force right now. So my idea was Wind Force has a lucky hit chance to deal double damage and knock back enemies. So doubling damage sounds quite good, and it's still very good. But I have just found it's not that needed as I thought, because you could also play with a crossbow and put Edge Master's aspect on it, and because you have so much dexterity on the crossbow, you will. And also crossbows deal more damage naturally. So this way the damage is kinda even, so the crossbow or the Wind Force, they are about the same damage level as far as I can tell. But I have not found the best Wind Force yet, and also I was missing one upgrade, so maybe Wind Force could be still better, but for now I just dropped it until I maybe find a perfect Wind Force, and then I will try again. But anyways, you don't need Wind Force, but that was my first idea. And my second idea was, I want to combine this insanely lucky hit chance with Frostburn. So what this means is, every time I load up my combo points and shoot, you can see I'm instantly freezing my enemies. So with Frostborn, I'm just freezing everything I hit. And this is very good, because Rogue profits from freezing enemies. So for example, we have in our skill tree, we have this passive called Frigid Finesse. I have 6 points because I'm wearing an amulet, and this gives us 60% multiplied damage to frozen enemies. So 60% multiplicative bonus is very huge, and so since we're freezing enemies all the time, we get 60% damage bonus all the time, so very good. Then we also have something like in the paragon board, we have the glyph called control glyph. So this also gives us additional 20% more damage to frozen enemies. So yeah, it's very good to freeze our enemies. And also Godslayer Crown, I will tell you something in a minute. So yeah, that was my second idea. Frostburn, freezing enemies and dealing much more damage. Then my third innovation, if you could call it like this, was I dropped Close Quarters Combat for Victimize, because I realized, okay, wait a minute, Victimize also has a luck hit, and if this procs every time, this could be very huge. And you can see my current damage bonus increase is 424%, so you just need to stack a lot of vulnerable damage, as I do, and then you get up to 470 or maybe 500 damage increase for your Victimize damage. And Victimize basically works like the Barber heart from Season 1. So it just deals, it explodes in like a big shadow explosion and deals big AoE damage around quite a big amount of radius. So with the bugged penetrating shot right now, which seems to be meta since Blizzard is not nerfing this bug, so we have to accept it as the new rogue meta kinda. So with this penetrating shot meta, we are able to proc Victimize every time we hit an enemy. So each enemy will basically proc this Victimize explosion. So you can imagine this can stack up quite quickly. So for example, if we hit 10 enemies which are standing nearby to each other, all of them will proc Victimize explosion, which I have a big damage bonus increasement right now. So this will deal a lot of damage. And I also have tested this. So for example, I can show you now. I don't know if this will work, but so for example, my basic skill rotation would be like casting my puncture, so I load up my combo points. Then I use Shadow Step, Evade, and Shoot. And you can see 600k, this was my Victimize explosion. I can try a bit, so again I'm loading my combo points and hope this one will get a bit higher maybe. So again, I'm shooting, and it's this time 800k. And sometimes this can even go up to 1.5 million. So up to 1.5 million of AoE damage explosions on each enemy I hit with my penetrating shot. And now comes the fun part. We are also playing with Godslayer Crown. And like you saw in the video, I can show you again. The effect of Godslayer Crown says, when I'm freezing an elite enemy, I'm pulling nearby enemies together, and they are pulled very tight. Okay, so maybe you already saw in the video, they are pulled in a very small area and they are all stacked together. And like I mentioned 1 minute before, the penetrating shot will proc victimize on each enemy hit. So if the enemies are so close together, they will just instantly die to this huge AoE explosions, okay? So we are dealing 10 or 20 million of damage, I don't know. It's hard to say because they're so close together. And also we get 60% more damage bonus to these enemies. So this combination of Godslayer Crown, Frostburn, and Victimize passive with our Penetrating Shot, which is bugged with Thibault's Will and Condemnation. So a bit complicated, but this is basically our combo. So this works very nice. And you could also sneak a Wind Force in, like I just mentioned before. And we're also playing with Riffling Band, the new Malignant Ring of Season 1. So this also helps us to getting the enemies closer together, because the Taunt Trap will cause enemies to go into this direction, and they will also kind of be at one place together. So yeah, I can show the gameplay again. So yeah, you also see that this is basically our basic skill rotation. We either pull them together with Godslayer Crown, so elite packs are instantly pulled up together with Godslayer Crown, so the first arrow hits them and freezes them, then they get pulled together, and the second arrow just kills everything. And with regular mobs, you can see like now I'm pulling them together with my Malignant Ring, so with the Taunting Trap. And sometimes you only have like one elite and you just kill it with your rapid shot, because rapid fire. Because rapid fire is also bugged with Thibault's Will, and you're shooting about 25 arrows. So yeah, basically everything is one shot with rapid fire. So look at this again. I can quickly repeat this. So here I'm shooting. I'm hitting them with my first arrow. I'm freezing it, and they instantly get. It happens very quickly, but you can see they are pulled together instantly, and everything just dies. So yeah, it's very fun. And yeah, so this is basically the combination. We just need to make sure that we have enough combo points most of the time. So you can vary this a bit. So for me, I just cast Puncture 3 times. But to be safe, you could also cast it like 4 to 5 times. Then you're a bit safer that you will reach this maximum points, this maximum combo points. It's because if you don't reach the combo points, then your freezing effect will not proc, your lucky hit will not proc, your damage will be much lower. So sometimes you're dealing only 1/5 or so of your damage. But yeah, it's up to you. So you can cast Puncture 3 to 5 times. That's what I would recommend you. So yeah, this is basically how we play this rogue. So it's a lot of fun, and you can see it heavily reminds me of the Barber rogue, just because like I mentioned, we have this big AoE damage, everything instantly dies. So yeah, a lot of fun. So some more tips I can give you on this on the skill rotation. So most of the times it's best to wait before you shoot. So for example, it could be a good idea to not engage every small pack of mobs, but instead walk around a bit. So since we're also very tanky, we're playing with Dark Shroud, so we always have this 40% damage reduction active, basically. So we can move a bit through the map, and first we need to collect the enemies, okay? So like you can see here, I'm running around, I'm laying down my decoy trap to taunt enemies, and then I start preparing my big attack. So sometimes it's better to wait and not instantly attack everything you see. So this is one tip I can give you: be a little bit patient and wait for big groups of enemies, because the bigger the group, the easier it is to kill everything, okay? So yeah, just like with the Barber rogue in Season 1, basically. So then, like I mentioned, we want to load our combo points. And also, what is a bit of a more advanced rotation, if you can learn this and implement it every fight. So after casting 3 times or 5 times Puncture, I also like to use one of my Cutthroat skills. So I either use Dash and Dash for enemies, or I use my Shadow Step. The reason for that is we get additional 25% damage bonus because we are playing with the legendary node Tricks of the Trade. So every time we alternate between cutthroat skill and marksman skill, we increase our damage. So that's why after casting Puncture, you could also cast either Dash or Shadow Step. And this way you will get a little bit of a bonus increasement. So just you could do that in higher nightmare dungeon tiers, for example. And also you always need to make sure that you are using your evade from time to time, so you are unstoppable all the time. So because if you're unstoppable, you get additional bonus from Thibault's Will, you get your resources back, and yeah, basically you get damage and resources, and you can't be CC'd. So also make sure to be all the time unstoppable. So my skill rotation would be 3 times Puncture, Dash or Shadow Step, then Evade, and then I shoot my penetrating shot, and in best case everything dies. So yeah, you need a bit of a setup with this rogue. You can't just... Well, it's not recommended to just attack all enemies, like I said, and just casting all the skills. So you need to be a little bit patient, you need to prepare a little bit your skill combination, skill rotation. But that's what I love about the rogue class. So rogue is all about this combination of skills and maximizing its damage this way, okay? So yeah, then I'm not sure, I think this dungeon doesn't have a boss, so maybe I can switch to a boss fight quickly. So with bossing, you could replace your Frostborn with another unique glove. So right before I fight the boss, you can see here I'm replacing my Frostburn with another unique glove, which is called Grasp of Shadow. The reason for that is we get +6 ranks to all core skills with Grasp of Shadow, and this is just better for fighting bosses since you can't freeze them anyway. So here I just switch up my gloves and deal more damage, and basically everything is the same. I'm using my rapid fire instead of penetrating shot. So here I'm just using also my cutthroat skills from time to time, I'm using dash from time to time, and basically casting puncture and rapid fire all the time. And another quick tip I can give you, for bosses it may be a good idea to like reload your combo points just before you enter the boss fight. So if you enter the boss fight, you should have full combo points. The reason for that is with Godslayer Crown, the Godslayer Crown also works for bosses, so the first 3 seconds of your damage will get a huge bonus. So if you already prepared your combo points, all you need to do is cast, for example, dash, and then when the boss spawns, you immediately start firing the first wave of rapid fire at him. This way you will deal instantly the maximum amount of damage, and you also have a little bit more time to profit from this Godslayer Crown bonus. So this is just a small tip, but I think this can also save you some amount of time, especially in the Abattoir of Zero event, where bosses will have a lot of health. I think you should do it this way. Okay, so I think that's it for the gameplay part. So I will quickly go through the skills or through the important stuff here. So we're playing with both core skills at max, rapid fire and penetrating shot. We need both of them. They both have their unique role in this build. So rapid fire, you just use it for bosses and single target elites. So for everything like quest elites and basically every time when there's an enemy alone. But 90% of the time you're using obviously penetrating shot. So here I'm also playing with Siphoning Strikes, so I'm not sure if it's needed to play with Siphoning Strikes, but I think more healing is not the wrong idea, especially in the later endgame event. So I'm preparing already for the Abattoir of Zero with this build. Here I also pulled 3 points into dash just because I want to lower down my cooldowns. So here basic stuff, like I mentioned, Frigid Finesse, very important to maximize our damage versus frozen enemies. Here also 2 points into Innovation, maybe 1 point is also already enough since we have such a big amount of lucky hit chance, so you can test around here a bit if you like. And I also experimented with Impetus passive, especially with Wind Force, but right now I dropped it because I didn't really like it. And yeah, here obviously Victimize, the very important passive for this big Barber damage. Okay, paragon board. Here I think I will actually show you my paragon board on my planner. But first maybe I show you my vampiric powers as well. So here I have Undying and Resilience. These are my two defensive vampiric powers. I'm still haven't find my Doombringer, so if I will find a Doombringer, I will replace my weapon with Doombringer, and then I will probably drop Undying, because Doombringer will heal me such a big amount of life every time I shoot, so I think Undying will become obsolete when I find my Doombringer, but for right now I still have it. Then Ravenous for attack speed obviously, and Metamorphosis and Moonrise also for attack speed and movement speed bonus. And then when I find Doombringer, I will also replace, like I mentioned, I will replace Undying and probably put in Domination for further 24% damage versus frozen enemies. So yeah, and I can also show you quickly my gear, but on my max throw planner I have put down the perfect gear, so the gear, best in slot gear that you should aim if you want to maximize the power of this build. Here, by the way, the best chest I have seen in Diablo 4 so far. I really love this chest. So yeah. And now I will show you the rest on the planner, just because it's a bit more optimized here. So here you can, I will post the link in the description as always, and here you can check by yourself all the important affixes on the items. And here I will show you now my paragon board. So as always, my goal with paragon boards, especially when I'm here preparing for the new Abattoir of Zir event, my goal here is to focus more on defenses than on offenses. Because with the news, for example, the new Zir glyph will boost our damage anyways by a big amount of, by a lot. So it's better to focus on defenses, in my opinion, than on offenses. That's why we are starting with diminished glyph in the starter board. So this glyph gives us 250 more armor and 10% reduced physical damage. So very good glyph for the starter board, in my opinion. Then usually I go for a cheap shot board as my second board on Rogue, but since we are playing with Exploit, since we are playing with Victimize, we need to focus on vulnerable damage, and that's why my second board is Exploit Weakness. Here we have some very nice vulnerable damage nodes. So this is my second board, and with Exploit Weakness, the most efficient glyph pathing here is an intelligence glyph, so that's why I put in control glyph here. So we have very efficient glyph pathing on this board. And here I'm taking basically all of the good nodes here, and also some cold resistances. I will show you later. I have maxed out cold resistances and basically can put only jewelry like skull jewels in my rings, so I further increase my armor, so we have no problems with capping resistances at all. Then my next board is Tricks of the Trade with the Pride glyph. So here I'm getting another 13% damage bonus to healthy and injured enemies, and also again 250 armor, so very good glyph overall. Then we want to take this damage reduction from close enemies and Tricks of the Trade legendary node if you want to if you like to play with cutthroat skills like I do, so we get a bit more damage. And here I'm also taking shadow resistances, so we have shadow and cold basically backed up by our paragon board, so we don't need these two resistances on our gear like shoes, for example. And the next board is Cunning Strategy. Here I'm taking some armor, some resistances to all enemies, and here this legendary node, which will increase my lucky chance. Actually, I'm not sure if this is even needed, so maybe you just don't need it, and you will also proc your Frostburn and Victimize all the time, so maybe I need to test this further, but for now I have just picked this up, because I think that it might proc your Victimize even more often, but I'm not sure. The fifth board is the cheap shot board. Here we want the cheap shot legendary node, so if you're if you're staying nearby frozen enemies, so we are freezing all the time, and if we are staying in close range, even though we are ranged rogue kinda, but it's still recommended to play in close because we get the healing from siphoning strikes, and with this legendary node we get also additional 25% damage, so we stay near closed frozen enemies and get this damage bonus. And here I'm putting the turf glyph for additional 10% damage reduction on enemies. And the last board is this one, No Witness. This board is very good for strength glyph, so I put exploit here because we want as much vulnerable damage as possible. And you can see I have 54 strength in this board here. So this gives me 85% vulnerable damage, which is very good to scale our passive. And yeah, we also have a nice maximum life node here, so very good board for exploit glyph and for maximum life. So yeah, this is the starting, or not starting, this is the endgame paragon board, so for level 100 characters. And this is the starting board kind of for my Abattoir of Zir event. And like I mentioned, I will do a video for Abattoir of Zir later, and will show you how I would change my paragon board when I level the new glyph, and where I can recommend you to put the new glyph on a rogue. So yeah, that will be another video. But for now, this is my paragon board. Here in the planner you can also see different versions. So I have this victimized version, which is you could also call it the Barber rogue. So actually, yeah, I could call this right now Barber. So something like that. And I have some other versions here. So for example, Uber version with Harlequin Crest and Doombringer. But actually I think you don't need Harlequin Crest in this build. Because if we are playing the Barber version with Frostburn, the only thing that I would change is I would replace this weapon here with Doombringer, because Doombringer is just very good. So here I would play with Doombringer, and then I would need to drop this legendary aspect here. So I would drop this expectant aspect because I need my penetrating shot aspect. Since I just replaced the Doombringer with my weapon. And yeah, then I would just also replace this Undying here with Domination. And I think this would be kinda the Uber version of this Barber build. So here I can call it Barber and Uber. So yeah. So here you have some different versions, you can look up yourself, but I can recommend you playing with my recent one, the Barber, or the Barber with the Doombringer Uber, if you find it. So yeah, this is the best version for this range rogue, I believe. And I also wanted to quickly mention my resistances. So here you can see I have capped out all of the resistances, and in a quite efficient way. You can see here I'm only 0.2% away from the perfect resistance cap, and here 3%, 5%, 3%. So this is because I put all of the missing resistances on my boots. Okay, so I have lightning, fire and poison resistance on my boots. And then you only need to find a decent ring which has cold resistance on it. And if you find a ring with cold resistance, and since the unique ring here, like the Withering Band ring, has shadow resistance, you just need to find the cold resistance ring. And then with the Paragon board, like I mentioned, because we have some resistances here as well, we can reach our 70% cap very easily. So we just need to invest resistances into our boots and find one good ring with cold resistance. So yeah, that was something I wanted to mention as well. And here you can see with Doombringer, we would have 24k life, we would have healing all the time, the enemies would deal 20% damage to us all the time. So with Doombringer, I think you're really basically immortal. So this build is very, very huge. We have a lot of armor because we're playing Disobedience on our amulet. A lot of damage reduction. So yeah, I could talk endlessly about this build and all of the nice things about it. But I think that's it for now. This video is long enough. I hope you enjoyed this guide. I really believe this is the new meta for Rogue. This build is very powerful and fun, like you just saw. And yeah, I hope you have fun as well, and maybe we'll try it out. And I guess I see you in the next video. I will drop some videos for Abattoir of Zero, as I mentioned. So if you're interested in that, then stay tuned until there, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching. Leave me a like or subscription. I'm very close to 1000 subs, so I would really appreciate if you guys could subscribe a little bit for the last subscriptions that I need. So yeah, have a nice day, and thank you. Bye bye.